hooded. It was then tanned using alum by a courier with fish oil, by the hamoisier, or with tannins dealt with by the tanner from oak, beech, or other tree bark. During this whole lengthy process, the hide softened, was stopped from decomposing, and optionally turned a different color. At the end of the process, the hides were submerged for a few weeks in vats or pits full of urine. The leather thus produced was then dried and could be surface treated, painted, or polished. Characters: Charles IV. Charles IV of Luxembourg, born Wenceslas, son of King John of Luxembourg, was the second member of the Luxembourg dynasty to become King of Bohemia, and the first to attain the title Holy Roman Emperor. He held many other titles besides Margrave of Moravia, Count of Luxembourg, King of Italy, King of the Romans, and King of Burgundy. Renowned for his diplomatic skills and erudition, he actively endeavored to consolidate his position and ensure the survival of his line in Europe, especially in Bohemia, Moravia, and Germany. He was well versed in several languages, and at the French court he was tutored by none other than the future Pope Clement VI. During his reign, Prague and the land of the Bohemian crown underwent a major transformation, becoming a powerful political, economic, and cultural center. For this reason, this period of his reign is known as the Golden Age. He initiated the construction of many superb edifices, which thus bear his name, including Charles University, Charles Bridge, and Karlstein Castle. He was keen to emphasize the role of religious faith in society. He renewed the cults of Saint Wenceslas, Saint Sigismund, and Saint Vitus, consecrating various church buildings to them, among other Prague Cathedral. He married 4 times and had 13 children, most of whom died in infancy. The most illustrious of his offspring were his sons Wenceslas and Sigismund, who both became rulers over the lands of Bohemian crown. Sigismund of Luxembourg. Sigismund of Luxembourg, son of Charles IV, was king of Hungary and Croatia from 1387, king of Germany from 1411, king of Bohemia from 1419, and king of Italy from 1431. He was also prince of Silesia from 1419, Margrave of Lusatia, and most notably Holy Roman Emperor between 1433 and 1437. What can I say? I think this is a certainly guy that achieved a lot. At an early age, he was sent to be educated at the Hungarian court, quickly mastering the tough conditions of politics. Like other members of his family, he was abducted at least once, in his case by the Hungarian nobility. Having lost faith in the Hungarian nobility, he turned his attention to Bohemia and became engaged in hostilities with his half-brother, Wenceslas. Some of the Bohemian nobility welcomed Sigismund, hoping he would rid them of their ineffective monarch, while others sided with Wenceslas, resulting in long-lasting wars, in the course of which Sigismund and his Hungarian army, consisting in no small part of common mercenaries, repeatedly pillaged Bohemia, often with the help of the Bohemian and especially Moravian lords themselves. Sigismund fought not only to seize his brother's throne, but also against the Hussites, with the aim of seizing the imperial crown. He regarded himself as the defender of Christianity, and in 1409 even founded the Order of the Dragon to wage war against all enemies of the Christian faith. One of the later members of the order was the infamous Vlad the Impaler, inspiration for the fictional Dracula. After the death of Angeslaw, Sigismund brought to Bohemia 4 unsuccessful crusades against the Hussites. He died soon after signing of the compacts, a set of agreements with the reformers guaranteeing freedom of religious belief to every inhabitant of the land of Bohemia and Moravia. The Ronov family. One of the oldest and most notable Czech aristocratic dynasties, the family expanded into numerous branches over generations, such as the lords of Dauba, Berka, Lichtenbergs, Krizinets of Rono, and so on. In the 13th and 14th centuries, the family split into lords of Leipa, the Lichtenbergs, the lords of Dauba, the lords of Klingstein, and more. The oldest known member of the dynasty was the late 12th century Smil Svetlik of Tuhan. His descendants carried the high office of the royal court, thus acquiring considerable tracts of land, from which they acquired the family name from Rono in the Żitawa region in the Neisse River Valley in the present-day Poland. Rono Castle of the same name south of Česká Lipa was built only at the end of the 14th century. The Rono family is represented by one of the KCD characters, Hanush of Lipa. Lords of the Talmberg. The coat of arms of the Lords of Talmberg consists of 2 water lily leaves, argent, silver on a field gules red. The dynasty dates back to 1291 when Talmberg Castle was under the administration of William, son of then Prague Burgre v. Hroznata of Užice. His descendants later owned estates in South and East Bohemia, including Slatinany, Milichin, and area around Čáslav. Some of the Talmberg lords achieved such influential posts and administration as burgrave or magistrate. William of Talmberg and Milichin. In 1297, the head of the provincial court, the direct founder of the Talmberg branch and direct bearer of the Hroznata coat of arms, the Hroznata family was one of the few that did not directly engage in the war against the king, so did not forfeit property. He found Talmberg Castle. He had 2 sons, Divish and Nezamisl. Pope. The Pope is the supreme head of the Roman Catholic Church, Jesus Christ's deputy on earth, and cannot be removed from office. His word is regarded by the Church as infallible, equivalent in effect to the Holy Scriptures. At the time of our game, however, nothing was quite so straightforward due to the papal schisma that lasted from 1378 to 1470. There were for a time as many as 3 rival claimants to the throne of Saint Peter. For the secular rulers, support for one claimant or the other was often less a question of faith than of political convenience. Pope Clement VII. Clement VII, born Robert of Geneva, was the first antipope elected by the French cardinals in opposition to the Roman Pope Urban VI as an expression of their disagreement with the Italian pontiff's decision to remove the seat of papal power from Avignon, as well as his views that the clergy should lead a more austere and virtuous lifestyle. This event caused the Western Schism, which split the papacy. Pope VI. Urban VI, born Bartolomeo Prignano, was quickly elected pope under pressure from the Roman people, who have a citizen of the city on the papal throne, and the papacy returned there from Avignon, to which it had been relocated at the beginning of the century by the French king. Urban truly did begin to rule from Rome, and once he took office also to criticize the cardinals for accepting gifts from rulers and living in luxury. This made him many enemies, so shortly thereafter the French cardinals declared this election invalid and elected a new pope, who once again ruled from Avignon. The new pope declared Urban to be the Antichrist and excommunicated him. This led to the Great Schism, financial, theological, and political duality, and chaos throughout Europe because each ruler had to declare which pope they recognized as the head of the church. Wenceslas IV. Wenceslas IV of Luxembourg was the son of a highly successful monarch, Charles IV. He inherited the Bohemian throne and attained the German crown by election. However, he did not inherit his father's predisposition for ruling. Already during his lifetime, he was known for being a weak, idle, and moody ruler who was afflicted with many ailments as well as difficulties meeting his royal obligations. Despite the fact that he had been groomed for rule since early childhood, he was crowned Bohemian king at the age of only 2 years. He was more interested in hunting, alcohol, courtesans, and pleasures of the court. During his time as king, the lands of the Bohemian crown underwent several wars and conflicts involving his relatives, his own brother Sigismund and his cousins, the Moravian Margraves. The event that triggered the Margravate Wars was that Wenceslas occupied the vacated estates of the Olomouc Archdiocese, which by law belonged to the nobles. Under the leadership of Jobst, the Moravian lords joined with Sigismund in open revolt against the king, which had less to do with the Olomouc estates than with the legitimacy of the ruler of Wenceslas, who in the meantime had been stripped of the imperial crown by the imperial electors for his incompetence and unwillingness to rule. Later he also lost the power of the Bohemian crown when he made numerous concessions and awarded the nobles many privileges, de facto transferring the ruling power to them. His unwillingness to meet obligations resulted in his abduction twice, thereby removing him from the throne, first in 1394 by the Czech nobles and then in 1402 by his brother Sigismund. Wenceslas initially supported the reform proposals of Jan Hus and his adherents, but he did nothing to save the reformer's life. When he was sentenced to be burned at the stake by the church, he thus set in motion what was later to become the largest and only more or less successful popular revolt in Europe, the Hussite Wars. However, he did not live to see these events since he died in 1419. After his death, his brother Sigismund of Hungary seized the crown, but he had to fight for it since not everyone acknowledged his claim, and once he had the crown, he did not live to enjoy it for long. Tutorials: Alchemy, basic controls, character skills, dice, lockpicking, pickpocketing, quests, and general stealth. So first of all, it's alchemy. Alchemy is a useful skill that transforms herbs and other ingredients into potions and remedies. In order to brew those, you need a knowledge of alchemy or receive an alchemist's bench and necessary ingredients. In the alchemist lab, you will find on the right side of the bench the herbarium, which lists all the properties of herbs and all the recipes you have so far learned. You open the book with E and use Q to toggle between the recipes and the plant descriptions. It's always best to follow the recipe in the book. By holding E on the recipe, you can also set all the necessary ingredients straight down on the alchemy bench. The degree of difficulty of the brewing itself varies, and each recipe requires a variable number of steps, but the first step is always to pour the potion base, which you will find on the shelf on your left, into the cauldron. The next step is to add the ingredients to the cauldron and brew the mixture on the prescribed flame, which is regulated by means of the bellow cue. You should carefully time how long you brew the potion using the stained glass F. If the recipe demands it, you must take care to grind ingredients using the mortar and pestle. The brewed potion can then be poured directly from the cauldron into the phial or passed through the distiller. The recipe steps must be adhered to precisely. If you deviate too much from them, the potion will fail, you will lose all your ingredients, and the whole brewing process will have to be repeated. Once you have become skilled enough at alchemy, you will have the option of auto-brewing potions by holding F on the herbarium. Basic controls. The Codex N accumulates all information about the world, points of interest, and detailed tutorials. You move using WASD and can also sprint, left shift, jump space, walk or run, caps left. You interact with the world using E. You can talk to people, take items, open trunk, etc. If you have a melee weapon on you, for example sword, and you'll stir in a sheath on your belt, you draw it using I. If you also have a shield that can be combined with the weapon, you will equip it together with the weapon. You equip your bow using 2, you crouch using C, you call your horse using X, you toggle your inventory using I, you open the map using M. You can skip time and wait for some time using T. If you're in the middle of some activity, however, pressing T will call up help. Character skills. As well as character stats, you can improve your skills. This is done by using them repeatedly, and there is nothing to stop you from developing them to the maximum. You will find them in Players tab. P. Your combat skills are shown in separate tab, and all the others in Skills tab. After your third level up of each skill, you will be given the option to choose a perk that in some way improves or alters the use of the given skill. There are 7 combat skills: warfare, defense, axe, bow, mace, sword, unarmed. There are 10 non-combat skills: stealth, horsemanship, lockpicking, pickpocketing, alchemy, maintenance, drinking, hunting, herbalism, reading. Character stats. During the course of the game, Henry will improve his stats, which you can find in the Player tab. P. These improvements can automatically simply by playing, and all can be developed to the maximum. There are no obstacles or situations that will prevent such improvements of selected abilities. With the leveling up of the stats, you will get the option to select one of the perks that in some way improve an ability or changes the way it functions. You can select the perks in Player tab. There are 4 primary stats: strength, agility, vitality, speech. There are also derivative stats: charisma, visibility, conspicuousness, noise, speed. We already checked this through. You can go back and see what kind of things there are connected to it. Dice. If you want to try your hand at gambling, it's possible to play the dice game of Farkley in every respectable tavern. The goal of this 2-player game is to be the first to reach a certain number of points. 6 dice are thrown on the player's alternate turns. Points are gained for every 1 or 5 thrown, and for 3 or more of a kind of any other number. Scoring is as follows: a single 1 is worth 100 points, a single 5 is worth 50 points, 3 of a kind is worth 100 points multiplied by the given number. For example, 3 4s are worth 400 points. In any case, it looks like more or less things are clear, and We'll get back to it in a sec when we'll need it. No. As far as I know, the only way I can save this if I sleep. But now there are no beds here, as you may have noticed. And that certainly is really bad. In any case, let's take a closer look at things.